Everyone was there. What's up, everyone? It is Nico and Barry here. Welcome you guys to the best Monday ever. Barry, welcome to the Nico Live Show.
Awesome. No, so happy. This is my first time live on LinkedIn. So Nico, thanks for having me. This is cool. Very
You know
cool.
what? It's your first time, and it's my first time having a real estate professional on board on the show. So, Barry, introduce yourself, and let's get this rock and rolling.
Yes, I'm Barry Wolfe. I'm with the real estate company Marcus and Millichap. I sell shopping centers, single tenant net lease, retail properties all over the country. So very immersed in the retail sector and the real estate sector, which is really timely. And that's why, Nico, you and I had chatted about doing this is just with everything that's going on here these last couple of weeks. How's that impacting retail? How's it impacting real estate? So look forward to chatting with you about that here for a few minutes.
Absolutely. And before we jump into all of that, because again, the real estate I think is super interesting, especially with what's happening with Corona and whatnot. But what's one tip that you are telling your clients, telling people that you work with? What's one tip that you want to share with the audience today?
I think be patient, be calm. I've had actually a couple of clients reach out to me over the weekend, even in kind of quasi panic mode. Just sell. What do we do here? And I kind of ending a lot of my emails. There's the old British saying, keep calm and carry on. And I think right now it's just stay the course. This too will pass. I don't know exactly how it's going to play out. I don't think anybody does. But I am a firm believer we will come out of this somehow, and sooner than later, I do believe, and we'll move on to the next high. I mean, when you get moments like these, and about every decade we get something like this, and when you're in the middle of it, when you immerse, every time it feels, this time is different. This time is much worse. This time's the end of the world, whatever it is, or the economy is going to be devastated. It always feels like that when you're in the heat of the hurricane, when you're in the middle of it, or the eye of the storm, as they'd say. And somehow things do work out, and I'm confident that will happen again. And a lot of that is faith in reality, but I do believe we will work our way out of this somehow. And we'll look back in, hopefully a matter of weeks, and we'll kind of moved on, or one way or the other. So I think it's just be patient, be calm. I think hasty decisions don't tend to be good decisions when you look back out on them. So I think just hang on. And if you got stocks, my inclination is, if it's long-term money, ride this out. I mean, I'm not a stockbroker, I'm not advising, but I think it's just be calm.
It's so true, because one thing that we've actually, as we've gotten to know each other, I've learned is you've been in the real estate sector for a little bit. So this isn't your first rodeo with something like this happening, right?
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, 2008 to 2012 or so was a tough period. I mean, 2001, the dot-com blow up, the 9/11. Yeah, real estate is cyclical. The economy is cyclical. We've been due for a recession. We've been wondering, when is that recession going to come and what's going to be the impetus of it? I've had that conversation with clients and associates for the better part of a year or so. And I've been revisiting that with folks here in recent days. Okay, now we know what the cause is. So yes, we're going probably to have a recession. We may even be in a recession already, but it's not unique. I mean, there will be another recession, 5, 7, 10 years from now. So don't panic just because we've had a change in this, kind of a new cycle coming along. That's not a reason to panic. These frankly, when there are opportunities, if anything.
Oh, absolutely. So while we're on this, as a marketer, I'm really inclined on knowing what's happening in my sector. As someone in the real estate space, you're seeing trends and whatnot. So again, knowing that we're going through some interesting times right now, what are some trends that you think the majority of people, either not in the profession or in the profession, need to know about what's happening?
I think it's support. I mean, I'd say a trend, and I think something that we can all be doing, at least for right now, is support your retailers. I mean, I know you can't go out. I'm not encouraging, don't go to the mall, don't go shopping. But we all need to eat. There's Uber Eats, there's Grubhub, there's takeout, to go, drive through. I think what we can really all be doing is support those retailers, support those restaurants. Go get delivery. These retailers in the restaurant sector in particular are really going through a very, very challenging time right now. We're seeing layoffs very quickly. So to the extent you're able to go support those people, buying your food at some of these restaurant establishments would be phenomenal. We're doing a lot of to-go myself to, what are my favorite restaurants? And I want to support those restaurants. So we're purposely go get to go, leave a nice tip for the service people. I think that's the trend I'm seeing is just, and then frankly, it's something we can all be doing to try to help these operators through what, in reality is a very difficult time right now.
And it's interesting because you do focus on a very specific group or subset of retail, which or of real estate, which is retail. Actually, I don't even know this one. What got you into retail, especially because like here in Phoenix, it's definitely being impacted by the whole Corona thing. But on a more positive note, I'm trying to figure out, we're trying to support these retailers, but actually understanding your part in this process, I think lends a lot of insight to it too. So what is that? How did you actually get into this retail world, and why should we listen to you?
Well, I've been in the retail sector since 1993. I was an attorney before this, and when I came out of law school, was working directly with several national restaurant chains, with developers for Kmart and Walmart and other retailers. I've been, since 93 professionally really immersed in the retail sector. I worked in-house in the legal real estate department for a publicly traded retailer. So really it's just all I've done for, almost 25 plus years, pushing 30 years, is being immersed in retail and studying retail, talking with retailers. We work with a lot of retailers. So it's certainly something every day of our life. That's just what we are in. We're immersed in the retail sector. Go to, not this year, unfortunately, but we go to retail conferences, probably 10, 15 retail conferences every year. That's been put on hold for the moment this year. So it's just something we're immersed in literally day to day.
I love that. As you go and definitely understand the industry, you pick up principles here and there. What's a principle that you've gained over the course of the 29, 30 years that you've been in this industry?
I think it just kind of my mantra is just work hard. And I think we see that now in the good times. You see a lot of folks maybe slack off or take things for granted. I'm always kind of paint a picture. I always know there's something coming around. There's another cycle coming. You just got to work hard and develop relationships. Which you've done a phenomenal job of. I see you on LinkedIn, and we've gotten to know each other and develop those relationships. It's so easy to, in good times, to take things for granted. And now as we are in a more challenging period, hopefully it'll be a short period, but for right now, is have those relationships, people you're able to talk with, and what are they doing, what's working, what's not working. So I think just work hard, be smart, and again, develop in good times and in challenging times those relationships, and be a resource. Be there for other people. I've been posting that and reaching out to folks. If I can help you in any way, we're talking with a lot of people. So just be a valued resource, and give before you get would be another way to look at it.
It's interesting because I think a lot of people hear relationships and they think, okay, it makes sense. It's a nice term that everyone uses, but what do you mean relationships? Because in your industry and mine, there's overlap, but what does relationships mean to you?
I think just communicating with people, getting to know. Again, I go to a lot of conferences and do a lot of face-to-face meeting at these conferences, and just getting to know people, learning about them. What are they doing in the industry, and what are some ways that when the times are tougher, is there anything we could do to be of help to you? Just being a resource. Maybe it's sharing information, sharing what we're hearing from other folks, and just knowledge. Trying to, some of it's right now trying to talk people off the ledge. To a degree, and be a mutual support group. Being there for each other. It's tough for everybody. So I think just building those relationships, real world, and, like we've done, talking online, offline, and just being there for folks when the times are tougher.
I love that. And that actually lends to a question that we got here on LinkedIn saying, what's the temperature been in regards to community banks underwriting and lending to new acquisitions at this time?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Lenders are, as far as new acquisitions, lenders are being careful. We do a lot of retail, multi-tenant retail in particular right now is more challenging. But again, we're just a couple of weeks into this. Hopefully, hopefully we're just a couple of weeks away from the end of it too. We just don't know yet. Lenders are being cautious. They're going slowly. They're doing more in the way of refinances right now than new loans, but they are doing lending on new construction or acquisitions. But they're going to underwrite the borrower very carefully. They're going to underwrite the property very carefully. One challenge is, lenders like to go see the real estate, get physically on. They need to do third-party reports, and right now that's all more challenging at this moment. But again, hopefully this is short-lived. So that's certainly slowing down the process in that regard. And then as far as rates, we've actually seen, while the Fed funds rates are, basically been moved to zero, we actually have seen lending rates move up a little bit compared to a few weeks ago, in part because lenders just being a little skittish and being careful and conservative. So we've actually seen lending rates move up a little bit. They're still, by historical norms, very, very low, but not quite at the floor we were at, as recently as a few weeks ago.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And one thing that I think a lot of people don't think about is, much like you said in the beginning, this isn't the best opportunity, but it is a change in the industry, which does lend itself to changes in, the way of conducting business. And I know that in your line of work, which is 1031 exchanges, before we jump into that, Barry, how would you define a 1031 exchange?
Yeah, 1031 exchange is when we've got clients we're working with or just in the industry. They've sold one piece of investment real estate and they have the opportunity to defer their taxes by buying another piece of investment real estate. You could be moving from a multifamily building to a retail building. It doesn't have to be the same type of product, but you're basically staying in investment real estate. So just moving from one piece of real estate to another, and there are IRS regulations as far as the time frames to do that you have to stay within. But it's a great way, and we work with a lot of clients that do this, to defer taxes and build wealth in that way.
And that's a fantastic definition of it. And how are you seeing the 1031 landscape changing, morphing, adapting,
Right.
especially in this uncertainty time?
It's a little soon to tell. We've been working with a number of 1031 buyers. We closed last week on a couple of sales of properties with 1031 buyers. I think, like everybody right now, whether it's 1031 or otherwise, those buyers are concerned and just trying to figure out where things are at. So I think they need to be careful, and I'm suggesting they not panic either. Do give it some thought and think clearly. So it's a little early to know. I mean, do you have some 1031 buyers that maybe try to just build up more cash reserves, and maybe instead of doing an exchange, they decide let me just pay my taxes and accumulate the cash? I think we will see a little bit of that, and you'll see other exchange buyers take the point of view. And I think it's a good one that, look, I was buying this property for a 10, 15, 20-year hold. And if that's the case, I always suggest folks ignore the noise. I mean, if the noise, whether it's positive or negative, I mean, if your plan is to buy and to hold when the times are fantastic and you might be able to sell for a huge profit, if that's not what you're planning to do, ignore it. And same thing now, if the times are more challenging, if the plan was to hold for another 10, 15 years, ignore the noise, because again, we're going to be, over the 10-year period, we're going to probably go through a couple of cycles. Just let this one pass. Don't let it spook you into doing something that you had no intention to do. So again, don't obsess over the news. Don't obsess over the noise. Don't let it have you do something that you weren't otherwise planning to do. So I think it's a good strategy. Just kind of tune that all out and ignore it if there's no reason you need to pay a ton of attention to it necessarily.
I love it. And we actually just got a question saying, what are some protections that retailers can have during this time or any time that's really uncertain?
Yeah, I mean, that's the government's going to be involved in that to a degree. And if you're a franchisee, I'd be contacting my franchisor, finding out, what are you, Mr. Franchisor, able to do to help me through some tough times? If you're a retailer, a mom and pop, or a landowner, a landlord, we're gonna have a little bit better idea later today, maybe. I mean, Congress has been debating heavily an aid package that's worth hundreds of billions of dollars, perhaps even into the multiple trillions of dollars. Exactly. So we're gonna. I don't know. I mean, I think we're gonna have some better ideas here in the coming days. There will be aid packages out there, and again, if I'm a landlord, or a retailer, I'd be definitely paying attention to those. There could be SBA opportunities, Small Business Association opportunities, whether that's some loans, forgiveness. So I think we just got to see how this all plays out in literally the coming hours today and the coming days. What does the government do to help folks out? So I think it's a great topic, and it's going to be out there. We don't have a lot of clarity just yet.
As soon as you're saying that, I was kind of looking at the news, seeing if something broke, so we could have done some crazy thing on live.
Yeah, I think as we're sitting here now, 10:45 Eastern, I think they were planning to reconvene and vote again, I think at 1 p.m. Eastern. So I think there's a lot of back office politicking and debating going on right now, trying to get a bill that the parties of the House and the Senate feel like they can pass, and is something that Trump would sign. So I think there's some very heavy negotiating. We work with a couple of trade organizations. I know many trade organizations are leaning very heavily on the politicians to push aid their direction. I mean, the airline industry is pushing for billions of dollars of aid. We work closely with the International Council of Shopping Centers to help the retail sector. I know they're pushing for billions of dollars of aid for the retail sector. So there's a lot of groups that are politicking and lobbying incredibly hard right now, literally as we speak, trying to push for aid for their organizations and their folks.
And this is a good little time to plug Barry, because again, Barry's spending a lot of time researching and paying attention. So if you're ever looking for a great resource, I will throw Barry's LinkedIn in there, and he's active like I am on this platform. So Barry, we actually got another question saying, what are your recommendations to sellers that are looking to market their asset over the next 30, 60 days?
It depends on the product type, realistically. I don't think there's one size fits all. We've got several single tenant retail properties we are bringing to market that I think are perfect for, again, 1031 buyers in particular. And I think we'll get good interest in those. They're just good properties, good fundamentals. More multi-tenant properties are going to be more challenging in reality, because we do have a lot of evolution, a lot of things changing in the multi-tenant sector, whether that's office or retail or industrial, or even to a degree multifamily, because some folks are, a lot of folks have lost jobs and they may have challenges paying the rent. So I think it's a little early to tell. I don't think there's a one size fits all answer. I think we're going to have a little more clarity, or maybe a lot more clarity here in the next week. Rent checks, whether that, regardless of the product type, whether it's multifamily, office, retail, rent checks come due April 1. So we're about a week away from that. There's a lot of speculation of how many of those rent checks come in and how many default. So I think we're going to have a little bit more clarity here in about a week to 2 weeks of how does that all play out. So I mean, that's certainly, if anybody out there has that question, I'm more than happy to get on a phone call and give an honest opinion. And it's not necessarily a sell. May not be the right time. Maybe holding for the moment and get through the cycle may be the way to go. But it's not one size fits all. So I'm happy to discuss that with anybody and give you again an honest opinion and honest feedback.
That's excellent. We've got another question saying, what would you recommend to commercial borrower owners who are expecting not to be able to make their next payment, and what? So basically, playing off that last question, is it more case by case basis?
Case by case, but I'd be preparing. I mean, I think if you're a commercial property owner of really any product type, I think this goes across every sector, I'd be prepared that the collections are going to be off significantly come, again, that April 1 when those rent checks come due, whether, again, it's multifamily where you have folks that have lost jobs and are not going to be able to pay the rent, or retailers that have lost sales, or office tenants that have, they're working remotely. So I'd be prepared for collections not to come in. I'd be communicating with my lenders. I've had several conversations today with building owners that are reaching out to their lenders. I'd be opening that dialogue. I think most lenders are taking a wait and see approach, because again, right now it's speculative. If you're a property owner, you're calling your lender. I'm not anticipating collecting my rents coming April 1. Their thought is, well, we don't know that for sure yet. Let's revisit it when we do know what we have. I'd start opening that dialogue and see, are they open to maybe, discussing an interest only type period for a couple of months if the rent come in. Maybe it's the deferment of loan payments for a couple of months, perhaps. I think the key now is I would just open that dialogue. I'd start talking with them. I don't know that you're going to get anything just yet. I think it is a little premature, but go ahead and start the conversation. So if nothing else, you're in the queue. They kind of have you in mind, as opposed to come April 1 and there's mass, rental defaults across the industry, which I think is possible. You're not kind of sitting behind a lot of other people that are kind of rushing to their lender at that moment. So I think I would just start a dialogue would be my suggestion now.
Again, it goes back to your earlier point where just prioritize relationships and actually
Agreed.
invest in those. Even a small outreach, a small phone call, 5-10 minutes can really make a world of a difference.
Yeah, and lenders, they want a dialogue. They want to know they're your partner in these deals. So treat them like you would your limited partners or your other partners you have in a deal, which would be communication. I mean, don't go silent. Don't pretend there's not an issue. Communicate with them, and they're going to want to see proof. I mean, they're going to want to, like your partner, they're going to see, well, keep us up to date. We want to see collections. We want to see who's in default. And it's not a matter of just a phone call. They're going to want reports. I mean, I think you've got to be, documenting everything as you're talking to tenants. If they're telling you we're not going to be able to document all of that, because you're going to need to have written feedback, written reports to provide your lenders. It's not going to be conversational. So that'd be one thing I would be getting ahead of, is starting to document all of that in writing. So you have something come April 1, you can deliver to your lender again, in written format, not just verbally, because they're not going to deal or negotiate verbally.
Absolutely. And, it's, I was looking at the calendars, the 23rd. So we got a couple, at least a weekend, we can some change to get that conversation going. Barry, we're coming towards the end. The comment section has been blowing up. Right? It's been super fun.
Awesome.
So my last question, my last serious question is, what piece of advice or tip would you give to someone either starting out in the real estate world or even your younger self?
I think it's funny. I remember having this conversation with folks that were new in the 2009, 2010, the last difficult cycle we went through. And I told them then there's a great time to enter the business. I mean, there's going to be fallout, whether that's retail ownership or brokerage. In any market cycle, when there's a shift, in reality, there are going to be folks that don't make it for whatever the reason. So I think it's a great time to enter. I think it's, again, I go back to build those relationships. Right now, people want to communicate. They want to hear what's happening. So I think it's just to start developing those relationships. And again, just work. I guess I'd say also be prepared to work your ass off. I think anytime you hit a hard period, we can pretend otherwise, but you're gonna have to work hard. I mean, I think that's whether that's the retailers and our business and yours. The days of easy money are behind us for right now. Now it's back to work your tail off and be there for folks.
And what I like about that is it applies to everything. Everything is going to get a little bit harder. Like you said, money is going to become a little bit harder. Clients, have now more choices, and they're going to be paying attention to the bottom line. So, Barry, this is part of my show where I like.
No, I just say that's what's unique about this downturn. And I say that, I mean, we're still, this is pretty early, or hopefully not too early, but this is, it just came on us suddenly, but it's impacting every business. So It's not like 08, 09, 10 was more on the real estate sector or the debt sector. This is impacting everybody. I mean, there's really nobody in our country and beyond that's not to some degree impacted by this. So in that regard, we can all be there for each other. We don't have to be in the same business. I can help you, you can help me. And if nothing else, just being there to support each other and help each other through what's a difficult time. I mean, let's not pretend otherwise.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we haven't hit something on this level of a pandemic in over 100 years. I think the last one, the big one, was the Spanish flu, and that was retrospectively not really the flu's fault. There was, the circumstances behind it and whatnot. So I agree. It's gonna be difficult, but people like you and I are still gonna be here. We're still gonna be pumping on the drums of positivity and hard work and actually getting stuff done, right? So the last little bit
Agreed.
of my show is this shameless plug, right? I want you to just plug everything that you're doing and what people shouldn't know about what you guys are doing at your company, and when to reach out to you.
Yeah, I think right now, I mean, we sell a lot of retail properties largely, but right now, honestly, we are working with the folks that we have properties on the market for, but also just being there for people.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people in the industry. I mean, I sat in on umpteen webinars last week, market specific and industry specific. So we're talking with a lot of people. So if you just have questions, particularly in the retail side or on the real estate side, just what do I do? Just want to bounce ideas off. I mean, reach out. I mean, right now, I'm just trying to be a resource for folks, be there just to trade ideas. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I have all the answers. I don't think anybody does, but we can be there to help each other and have a dialogue and just trade ideas. And what are you seeing? What am I seeing? And just help each other through what are some tough times. I mean, realistically, and just be there for other folks and be kind of a sounding board and talk each other off the ledge when we need that.
Absolutely. So no, I've been throwing your LinkedIn because I know that you're very big on that platform. Instagram. Where else can people reach out to you if they have these questions?
This is a good way. Honestly, I mean, good old fashioned, but give me a call. I mean, shoot me an email. Give me a call. We could schedule a time to talk. I mean, because I think a lot of it is that. I mean, I think that's what we're getting back to, which is good old fashioned just communication. I mean, be there, talking to folks. Like I said with the lenders, I mean, it's great to trade emails and text and all that other stuff, but when the times get tough, I mean, you want to be talking to people and be there for people. So, I mean, give me a call. Like drop me a line through LinkedIn, an email, and we'll schedule a time to talk. I mean, I'm spending working from home almost the entire day on the phone talking to people. So I'm there if I can help you.
That's where the best deals are done, just through an old-fashioned phone call. And the nice thing is you can use social media as a great way to introduce yourself to that person and then move that forward. So Barry, thank you for being on. Any last words before we end this?
Yeah, I'd say again, calm, be patient, be safe. Most importantly, I mean, be safe. I mean, we haven't really talked about that aspect of all of this, but be smart, take care of you, your families, and that's the most important thing. Let's all make it through this healthy and in good shape, and then with the rest of it, we'll figure the rest of it out. I'm confident.
Oh, excellent. Well, Barry, I'm going to end it here. We'll chat a couple minutes afterwards, but appreciate you being on. And for everyone watching, make sure you go reach